Hallo zusammen, I'm your Vlog Dave, and today I'm gonna react to the brand new Rammstein music video to Radio, a song they've premiered yesterday on April 25th. I've already made a video about that, about the lyrics and what they could be about, so let's see how that lines up with the video. If that actually lines up, maybe the video shows something else, who knows. Before I'm gonna do that, I need to put a little disclaimer in here as well, out of copyright reasons. Yeah, because I'm not allowed to include the actual video or the actual audio in this video right here out of copyright reasons, because of the Rammstein GbR, the Rammstein company, who's blocking all Rammstein related videos with audio material by them worldwide pretty much. I had that experience with Deutschland as well. I had to re-edit that, re-upload that twice, so that's not the fault of Germany, as someone suggested in a previous video right here. However, we can still listen, we can still watch the video simultaneously, because you can click play. When I click play, I'm gonna count down from 3 to 1, and we're gonna press the play button at the same time. It's as easy as that. So let's do it that way, and let's talk about the video a little bit afterwards. Let's go. Alright guys, I hope you are as ready as I am, so let's press play in 3, 2, 1, go. Little anecdote. By the way, this is my second time listening to the song overall. It premiered yesterday on several radio stations, and of course I took the opportunity, but now let's go to the video. Oh, that's nasty. The lipstick, honestly. I mean, of course it fits the context, but it looks so crazy. Sorry, Till, I have to laugh. Mein Radio. Great chorus, great hook line. Till. Sounds so good, honestly. The riff, the fast riff with those vocals, and the pounding drums. And that strongly reminds of Kraftwerk, the band Kraftwerk. I think it's a direct homage to them, because they were highly influential. Well, pretty much, I think, for the electronic music genre in general. Also a German band. Radio Berlin, yeah. Great, simple but effective keyboard line. Oh, nice. The digital effect, yeah. Awesome. Well, in the sense of radio, in those times it was an analog effect, really, but you know. By the way, my favorite line, meine Augen werden Ohren, my ears become eyes. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Okay. I really like it, although it doesn't really fit my first initial interpretation of the song all that much, because what I basically said in yesterday's video, you can watch that as well if you want to, it's linked in the end card of this video. I basically said that the song reminds me or evokes images of children not being allowed to listen to the radio late in the evening when they are supposed to go to bed, and also them coming from the GDR, them originating pretty much from the GDR, the former East Germany that doesn't exist anymore, so they weren't really allowed to listen to West German radio, let alone American radio, stuff like that. Well, the setting could be like in the 50s, 60s-ish, but judging from this video, that is earlier. That definitely is earlier. Could be the 20s, like the Weimar Republic maybe even. Maybe a bit later as well, like the 30s, 20s and 30s. I get the feeling that this mainly is about the 20s and 30s and the party culture, especially in the 20s, that was pretty big. The golden times, die goldenen Zeiten. And of course it's funny to see Till with the lipstick on. Der Lippenstift Singular, die Lippenstifte Plural. That looks, I mean, he can wear everything, of course, he's Till Lindemann, you know. So that might have seemed like a concert recording, like a live recording with cameras and stuff, but in fact that was a radio performance that was broadcasted on radio stations. Because back in those days that was highly typical. Sometimes we also have that in German, well, on German radio as well. It's not too usual anymore, I don't think, but it's every now and then that also happens these days. Of course, you have to keep in mind that in those days, the radio was the main technical device to go to. You know, that was state of the art, pretty much, next to the telephone. People often gathered and listened to the radio, well, as a family pretty much. The parents with their children, they sat down in front of the radio and listened to stuff. For instance, I know from my grandparents, what I've also mentioned yesterday, that they actually sat down in front of the radio with their parents listening to audio plays or radio shows. Audio plays are, well, pretty much narrated stories by different voice actors and that kind of stuff. Pretty big thing in Germany, but that took place in the 1940s and 1950s, whereas this specific setting right here, as I've said before, I think it's mainly related to the 1920s, maybe late 1920s. Now I'm gonna translate what they actually said at the beginning of the video. Let me rewind that real quick. So now I'm gonna start the video again and play a few seconds and then stop it in order to explain what I've just heard or what we've just heard. So if you want to play along again, 3, 2, 1, play. Well, the first two terms are Achtung, Achtung. That is very German, actually. Achtung, Achtung. Hier ist Berlin Königs Wusterhausen. I don't know that part of the town, actually. Let me look that up. At first I thought, is it like a district of Berlin? Because there are quite a lot of districts in Berlin. It's I think geographically it's the biggest city in Germany, and it's also the capital city, of course. And Königs Wusterhausen is a city that is located in Brandenburg, but it sort of belongs to the Berlin area, if that makes sense. There's probably more to that. like maybe also band related. They could have also chosen Berlin, Königs Wusterhausen out of historic reasons, I guess. Maybe there is something, well, let me check on that real quick. Okay. I just found something that I think would explain why they chose to name Berlin Königs Wusterhausen, because in 1920 the first German radio station, a Rundfunksender, was established there, was founded there, and that started. So that was pretty much the birth of German radio there. I'm just gonna read out in German what's written here, and of course I'm gonna add subtitles here in German and English, so don't worry. It says, von diesem Sender Königs Wusterhausen aus sendeten der Presserundfunk, ab 1922 der Wirtschaftsrundfunk und ab 1923 der Unterhaltungsrundfunk, also das, was man später unter Radio verstand. So, 1923 is probably the more or less exact year we're looking for here, or at least post 1923-ish. So I did a little bit of more research after this video, and what I found out is that during World War I, actually, German engineers also tried to create a radio that would work. And at the end of World War I, on November 9th in 1918, some revolutionary people, or revolutionary workers, actually occupied the German press central station, so to speak, and they wrongly said and broadcasted that, the revolutionary side, meaning the Radikale Revolution, the radical revolution, including the KPD, actually won the war. Which was fake news, of course, because that wasn't the case. And because of that, the German government under the SPD actually said, okay, we have to regulate this stronger, we have to take care of the radio. And that is also one of the reasons, I think, why Rammstein actually mentioned foreign words being very evil. The Germans had to be protected against that. But I think during the 1920s, the mid-1920s, the government basically let those strong, very strict regulations drop more and more. Of course, the text, and that is cool about lyrics, I think, can be understood in many different ways. And as I've read in the comment section under that video, yesterday's video, some of you also got the GDR feeling at first, like it could belong to that time frame, which is 1949 until 1990 pretty much. Let's come back to the video. I'm clicking play at 7 seconds in 3, 2, 1, go. Berlin, Königs Wusterhausen und der deutsche Kurzwellensender, the German shortwave channel, or broadcaster in that sense, radio channel. And then he says something that is highly typical for that time. Wir senden Tanzmusik. We are broadcasting dance music. Of course, that dance music is very different to today's dance music and what we, well, not me necessarily, but what you guys might dance to, like the pop music playing on the radio. But as I've already mentioned, that time frame, especially the 1920s, are described as the golden times, the golden era. People were dancing a lot and partying, and they just celebrated life because, well, World War I was over. Well, the industrialization went on, of course, and new jobs were being created, although there were problems. There was the Weimar Republic, by the way, going on in Germany after World War I, that established, and that lasted until 1933. A very interesting and short-lived time frame with lots of technical innovations. For instance, also the radio shows, especially the entertainment radio shows that we see here, the dance music shows, where a band plays live in a studio that's being recorded and broadcasted pretty much simultaneously, I think. Very interesting, very interesting. And I just listened to the end of the video because a woman said something there as well, but I could only decipher weiß Bescheid. Ich weiß Bescheid. I know about that. I'm aware of that. What that means, what that could relate to, don't really know. And I think there was something else that was said there, but I couldn't understand that acoustically, phonetically, so to speak, because of das Rauschen. Interestingly enough, I thought about that. The riff is faster, although I wouldn't describe the song as heavier necessarily. It's more danceable. Of course, that fits the topic here. Dance music, Tanzmusik. And the time frame we're talking about here and what that's about for like ordinary people and not in political regards. I think this is gonna be a total banger live because, you know, just take the chorus. Honestly, that stuck in my mind for like a pretty much all night long, I think, because I just woke up with that song in my head. So it's interesting. I wouldn't say it will definitely be a concept album per se. We don't know yet because we only know those two songs up until this point. But there is some themes, some recurring themes that we've heard in both songs historic-wise. Whereas Deutschland really covers a 2000 years plus, well, time period of German history in a broader sense or in a more specific sense, both pretty much. This one really speaks about the radio, well, the beginning of the radio in Germany and the beginning of the radio times in general, and Tanzmusik, as we've heard, dance music, especially set in the 1920s, post 1923-ish, I'd say. One last thing, maybe talking about yesterday's video and my first initial impression after having heard that song once for the first time. I thought about the GDR more and about children listening to the radio. The video actually has a different perspective on things. But I think when you just have the lyrics, they can very well work for both situations. And maybe that was also intended. Maybe Rammstein intended to have this, what's shown in the music video, as the primary background, the primary context to the song. That could also very well work for the GDR and not being allowed or not being able to listen to foreign radio stations. Because, yeah, that would also fit, I think. What do you think about the song? Tell me in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, feel free to share it with other people on social media, on Reddit, wherever you want to do that. If you want to do that, that's highly, greatly appreciated because that really helps a little channel like mine a lot. Thanks for watching, everyone. I really appreciate that, as you all know. I'm your Vlog Dave. Tschüss und bis zum nächsten Mal.